Hello, welcome to DIY Design by CCW, and thank you for clicking on my video. Today, as you can see, I will be doing a DIY for you. I have this beautiful cylinder vase. It's a thrifted piece, as well as another piece that I found on clearance for a couple of dollars. And I have this Dollar Tree cylinder or container that I'll be making over, as well as this smaller Dollar Tree container. Now, the one thing that all of these pieces have in common is the ribbing, and I'm hoping that I can make that, make it into a set. Now, I'll be also making a mirror tray for you with these oval shaped mirrors, and I have several other items here. I'll be using some rhinestone trim. I have these crystal knobs, other crystals that I'll be working with, and we'll just see how it turns out. I also have some mirror squares, basically scraps that I had left over, and we'll see how everything turns out. Now, I'm going to be playing around with a new color today, and this is Folk Art Color Shift. It's a turquoise shade. It's absolutely beautiful, and I chose it because it does exactly what it says. The color will shift from a blue to a green, depending on the light, and we'll see how that looks, but I'm excited to work with it. And it's not one of the ones that I typically use. I usually use the Treasure Gold or the Multi-Surfce, but here you can take a closer look at the paint and the shade, and I'll make sure to leave the exact shade and number in case you want to use this paint in the description box. But again, we'll see how it turns out. And I'll also be using a second color. I want this set to be two-toned, and I'll be working with this Mayan gold. It's a treasure gold paint made by Folk Art. Now, this is a color that I've used quite a bit, and there you can see and take a closer look. As you can see, I've used this color before, but we'll see how everything turns out. Again, that's going to be my accent color. Now I want to show you this beautiful paper that I have everything sitting on. Now, this is a washable paper, and it is absolutely beautiful. Now, I did pick this up from Joann Fabrics. They're going out of business. Some of you that follow the channel, you know that I've gotten a lot of my supplies over the years from Joann Fabrics, but I'm I'm looking around for some different sources. Now, this paper is absolutely beautiful, and it's, again, it's a washable paper, and it's made by American Crafts, and I'll be looking for a different source, although I did get this particular sheet from Joann Fabrics. All right, so guys, I hope that you enjoyed today's DIY. This paper, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to use it. I think I'm going to be using it to kind of make sort of another accent, but rather I'm going to use it as part of the lids, I think. Not really sure, but we'll see. I know that I'll be making these butterflies, and I'll be doing that with this craft tool, this butterfly cutting tool. Some of you may have seen me use that on the channel. Also, I'll be using these beautiful turquoise gems. Again, some of this, I'm not really sure how it's going to come together, but the first thing I'm going to do is take all of the pieces off camera, clean them with some alcohol, and then we'll jump into today's video. Of course, I'll be painting, so this alcohol, as you can see, this is the Walmart brand, the Equate 90%, and I'll use that, and then I'll begin painting. So I'm going to start with the Color Shift paint. Now, this Color Shift paint is a little more translucent than some of the paints that I've worked with, such as the Multi-Surfce paint, but it is a beautiful shade, and I'm thinking that it will work. Now, I may also mix in just a little bit of the Multi-Surfce Aqua paint. We'll see when I do the second and third coats if the paint doesn't have it's still not thick enough, you know what I mean, the coverage is still not like what I want, then I'll go ahead and add that in. But I'll let you know that after, you know, we see how this turns out. Now, if this is your first time watching me do this and you've never painted glass yourself, I'll tell you again, the secrets again, the pieces have to be clean. You have to use the alcohol. You want to use a brush that is rated for acrylic paint. I don't spend a lot of money on my brushes. I'll pick them up from Walmart, or, you know, sometimes I pick them up from Michael's or Joann Fabrics, at least I used to, until they decided to go out of business. But the main thing is you don't want to put the paint on very heavy. You're gonna probably have to use, you know, multiple coats, at least 2 or 3, to get the coverage that you want. And you want to keep your brush strokes going in the same direction as much as possible. So, all right, I'm going to stop talking for a little bit, let you watch me paint the rest of these pieces, and I'll be back when we get to the next part of the DIY. Okay, so now before we move on, I want to show you how I store the paint in between coats. I will seal the paint, as you see here, in a plastic bag. That keeps me from having to rinse out a new brush and start all over again. All right, so I'm going to start assembling the tray using this E6000 quick hole glue. And there you can see I'm going to be using it in between the layers. And I'm also showing you the other glue that I may use, which is the regular E6000 as well. All right, so the first thing I do, or want to do rather, and you'll want to do, is trace out the shapes. Now, the reason I'm using the cake board is I'm going to basically use 2 mirrors, one on the bottom, one on the top, and then I'll put the cake board in the center. That's to give the tray a little bit more thickness and also to give it a little bit of strength. Now, this is a regular 12-inch cake board, and basically, once I get it all cut out, I'll go ahead and glue everything together, and then we'll start adding a little bit of decorative trim to the mirror. Now, if you've watched me do this, then you know that I make tons and tons of these mirrors. Probably one of my favorite things to do. I actually love to make sets like this because I really like any DIY that I make to be something useful. And then sometimes I keep them, sometimes I give them away as gifts, you know, because you only have so much room for things like this in your home. But that's the reason I make them, is I really like to have anything that I make be something that can be used for different things, such as storage, maybe something you can use in your bathroom or on your vanity, etc. Okay, so here you see I'm just applying the E6000 quick hold glue in between the layers, and then once I do that, I'll go ahead and put the other mirror on top. I usually set the mirror aside, put a little bit of pressure on it just to make sure, you know, just sit something not really heavy, but just something to help hold the layers together. And then when I come back, I'll go ahead, after it sets, I'll go ahead and start adding some decorative trim. All right, so I'm adding this first layer of trim, and I will tell you, I end up coming back later and adding a little bit more. I do usually add more than one strip. Sometimes or rather one strip around the mirror. I will usually use like a regular kind of bling wrap, as I call it. But in this case, because I made this mirror a little bit thinner, what I'm doing is using this Hildy and Joe flat ribbon, and it's really more of a like a fabric trim, and I'll use it because it's just the right size and I don't have to cut it or do anything, but I am going to add another ribbon on top of it before this is complete. So again, basically just using my E6000 quick hold, and I am mixing the two glues together. And the reason I do that is the E6000 quick hold is a very fast hold. The regular E6000 is a stronger hold. The E6000 quick hold is a little bit thinner and a little bit easier to work with whenever you're working with trims. But again, just to make sure that the strip holds the way I want and that the tray is durable, I will add a little bit of the regular E6000 as well. Now, once I get this ribbon in place and I'm sure that it's secure, then I'll go ahead and glue on the decorative knobs that basically I use for my legs. Now, when I first started making these trays, I would make the legs out of wooden blocks and all sorts of things, but for a while now I have been using these crystal knobs, and again, these are just dresser drawer knobs. You can find them pretty much anywhere. I do have them in my Amazon shop, but you can also pick them up at Home Goods, or even the home store may have some. You know, you can find them pretty much anywhere. All right, so once I glue these on, then I'll set the tray aside, and then we'll move on to the next part of the DIY. Okay, so now I'm moving on to the paper that I'm planning to use for my lids. Now, I was thinking I would glue two pieces of paper together so that when you lift the lid, you would only see the gold fabric. But I found out that I really didn't need to do that I kind of actually liked it with just one piece. But that's why you see me cutting two there. And yes, I'm going to use the acrylic disc for these lids, but again, I wanted the gold to show through, and we'll see how that turns out. This is the first time I've made the lids this way, and we'll see, you know, what happens. So here I'm just using the butterfly cutting tool. Now, when I started this design, I was thinking I would put these butterflies on the containers themselves. On the containers themselves. I can't talk today, but I decided to do something different with them. So you'll see if we'll see if you like how they turned out. So, all right. So now that the paint is dry, I will tell you that I did end up in that last coat. I mixed in a little bit of the Aqua multi-surface paint just to give the paint a little bit more coverage. So if you decide to do this DIY, you can start with the Folk Art color shift, and then if you like it to be, or you find out it's just a little bit too translucent for you, I would add the Aqua multi-surface paint, and then you'll get the color that you see here. So what I'll do now is I'm going to take the gold, which again is the treasure gold, Mayan gold, and accent the pieces. I'll do the bottoms as well as the top of each of these pieces. Then I'm gonna actually have to do a couple of coats as well. I think I ended up doing 3 coats with this paint to get the coverage that I wanted. And then once I did that, I flipped the pieces over and also painted the tops to get that color contrast that I was looking for. So, all right, guys, I'm going to stop talking a little bit, let you watch me do the painting here, and I'll be back when we get to the next part of the DIY. All right, so now as you can see, the painting is done. I've painted the tops, I've painted the bottoms rather of each piece, and I really love how the color came, the paint, the two-tone paint came out. So what I'm going to do now is seal the paint. When I started doing these DIYs a few years back, I did not do this, and I'm so glad that I do it now. It makes it so much easier to work with the pieces. They're more durable. Even though these paints say they don't need to be sealed, I have found that you're better off to do that. So basically, you'll see that I've poured a little bit out in a dish. I would suggest you do it this way and not spray it on, because if you spray it on, you tend to get streaks. Now, I'm using the Folk Arts Select Seal Gloss, but it also comes in a satin as well as a matte finish. Now, you'll notice that I have 2 sponge applicators, and the reason is as you're starting to apply the Select Seal, once you get it on, you may notice that there's a few drips in a few spots. So I use the dryer applicator to kind of go over the sealant and make sure that I don't have any drips or any areas, so that when the piece dries and when the sealant dries, it dries nice. And again, it just gives the piece a nice sheen, because again, here I'm using gloss. It's going to make your piece more durable. If you want to use it in a bathroom or something like that, you won't have to worry about the paint peeling from your piece. So I'll go ahead and finish this up and do all of the pieces, and then I'll be back when we get to the next part of the DIY. All right, so now it's time to add a little bling and a little decorative trim to these pieces. So I decided to do something different. If you follow my channel, you know that I usually have tons of rhinestones everywhere and lots of bling, but I just really wanted these pieces to be very sleek. So instead of the ribbon and all the bling, I'm actually just going to accent these pieces with these mirror strips. And I do like the two-tone look of this. I think it's very sleek, very modern and elegant. And that's really all I did to that piece, you know, because I thought the two-tone paint was enough. Now for this piece, this is going to actually be my sort of my soap container in the set. I'm going to, you could use it for lotion. I'm going to use one strip down the middle to keep everything uniform. Now, I will also add a little bit of rhinestone trim around the top of the piece, just because when I put the spray pump in, I like to have a little bit of something around the bottom of the spray pump. And then once I do that, this piece will be done. I do like how it turned out, but again, you let me know, what you think. Now I'll stop talking a little bit, let you watch me rather work on a couple of these other pieces, and I'll be back when we get to another part of the DIY. Okay, so for the Dollar Tree cylinder, I decided to do it just a little bit different. I'm adding these mirror strips around the top. Now remember again, I think I said I'm working with scraps here. These mirror strips are left over from another project. So there you see me kind of cutting them and sectioning them so that they'll wrap properly around the piece. Now for this first strip, I didn't add any extra glue. But I found that even though the strips have the adhesive, I really do need to add the extra glue. So for the next strip, I did add a little bit, as you can see, a little bit of extra glue to help the pieces adhere. And then once I get this all laid out, I'll also add just a little bit of ribbon to cover up the blue in the middle. I probably could have left it like that, but I just decided a little bit of extra ribbon would, give this piece a little bit of an additional pop. But let me know what you think. If you like it and you like how it turned out, then let me know. Now I'm going to work with it a little bit, as you can see, kind of getting the pieces all lined up. Eventually I do get them lined up, get everything flat and in place. And then we'll move on to the lids as soon as I'm done getting this piece, all finished up. I'll be back when we get to the next part of the DIY. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and make the lids. Now, if you follow the channel, then you know I make lids for almost absolutely everything. And if you're new or this is your first time watching, first of all, welcome. But the reason I do that with the lids is I really want my pieces, as I mentioned earlier, to serve more than one purpose. And I kind of really probably love, I guess I would say my favorite thing to make is storage containers, although I do other things such as vases and candle holders and things like that. This is probably my favorite thing to do. So the first thing I always do is glue on some sort of decorative trim, and in this case I decided to go with the rhinestone trim. And this is something, again, that you can order from my Amazon shop if you like. They used to carry it. eFavorMart used to have it, but they don't have it anymore. Right now, I usually order this trim from Amazon. So once I get this glued on, and I'll glue it on to both the smaller disc and the larger disc. Then I'll remove the outer cover. I've learned to leave that protective film on for a little bit, get the trim glued on, let it set up just a little bit, and then remove the outer, the protective cover before I go ahead and do, whatever else I'm going to do to the lids. So, all right, guys, I'll let you watch me do this part, and then I'll be back when we move on to the next part of the DIY. So now that I've glued the knobs into place, I'm going to go ahead and add the butterflies and the gems. Now, I wasn't sure at first if I wanted to do 2 on each, but I did decide to do 4 butterflies on the larger lid and then 2 on the smaller lid. Once I got them in place, then of course I added the gems, and to glue them on, I'm using just a little dab of the bead glue, just enough to hold them on. I don't want to ruin the lid. And then I did the same thing with the gems. As you can see, I'm just adding a little bit of the gem glue to hold the gem on the butterfly. Then after everything was glued together, I added the cutouts of the paper. I started by adding of the washable paper. I added a little bit in the center, and then very carefully added a little bit around the edges. And I'm using again the E6000 gem glue to hold the paper in place and to hold it securely, but I also didn't want to see the glue, you know, the messy glue around the edges. So that's why I glued it that way. And it ended up working very well, and it held exactly like I wanted it to. So I'll set those aside. And now the next thing, I did say I was going to come back and add a little more ribbon to the mirror. And just because, you know, I just wanted it to have a little more pop. And I did end up gluing on a butterfly and a gem to the mirror as well. And then once I do that and I'm done with this, you know, a little bit of a tweak to the mirror, it'll be time for the final reveal. And this is how the set turned out. You know what? I think I like it, but I would love to hear what you think. Do you like this set? And if you do like it, would you make it? Would you give it away? Would you keep it? And would you change anything if you do decide to make it? But there's a close-up look at the Dollar Tree cylinder. And here's another close-up look there at the lids. And again, a little different than what I typically do. Not as blingy, that's certainly true. But overall, I'm happy with it. There's the perfume bottle and the lotion or the soap container, whichever way you'd like to use that. All in all, I think I'm satisfied with it. Not sure yet what I'll do with it, but again, love to hear your thoughts. So again, I love that you watched the video, and if you stayed thank you for watching the video. And if you stayed to this point, again, thank you. Please make sure if you did like it to leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, go visit my other channels if you can. And like I say at the end of every video, I can't wait to see you, each and every one of you, in the next video. Have a wonderful day or night. Bye-bye.